The last few weeks have probably been the most challenging weeks for me mentally in a long time. And I think the reason is that not recently, like a few months ago, I set very ambitious goals for myself. Quite scary goals, to be honest. Like, goals that are so ambitious that when you look at them, you're like, like, how am I going to do this? But those are the goals that you should have. I'm not discouraging you from having goals where you look at them being like, how am I going to do this? Yeah, and over these past few weeks, I've been extremely overwhelmed. I would wake up and it would feel like there are 2 plates on my chest. Like, those 20 kg plates in the gym. It would feel like there would be 40 kgs on my chest. I'd be struggling to breathe. It felt like someone would be like, your windpipe. It felt like someone was just holding my windpipe like this. And I was just trying to breathe. And anyone who's gone through a tough time would relate to this. I would wake up every single morning and I would have like 2 seconds of bliss, 2 seconds of just existing, being in the present moment. And I would remember and I would be like, flip. And then now it would feel like the 2 plates, someone squeezing my windpipe and stuff like that. Like I would genuinely just feel the stress and pressure as soon as I opened my eyes. Like, of course, stress and pressure are good, but it will get to a point where you start putting too much pressure on yourself and it genuinely paralyzes you. Like, you're so stressed and you put so much pressure on yourself that you struggle to act. So reluctantly, I reached out to my friends who, quite frankly, I refer to them as my brothers because I don't have a biological brother. I have 2 sisters and I'm not complaining. So these, my friends, they're the closest things to my brothers. So I reached out to them and I just told them what was going on. And everything that I'm going to say from now onwards is advice from my wonderful friends. So to my boys, if you're watching this, just know that your advice saved me a lot of negative emotions and I'm truly grateful for that. But anyways, on to the video. See, the reason why I felt overwhelmed, and you may be too, is because I was focusing too much on the destination and not the journey. See, I was focusing so much on what I wanted to achieve instead of actually doing the task that would enable me to reach that destination, to achieve what I wanted to achieve. Essentially, I was like daydreaming or visualizing success while I wasn't acting. So I was in a state of inaction. So what you need to know is that inaction leads to depression. See, I'm very ambitious and you may be ambitious too. Being ambitious is a double-edged sword because being ambitious will push you to achieve things that no one would have ever thought possible. But if you're ambitious and you don't act, it will lead to depression because you will spend the whole day thinking about a life that you could have, but you won't act towards that. You'll be signaling to yourself that, you know what, I don't care enough about our future to act. If you don't care enough to act, you can't expect yourself not to end up depressed. So I wouldn't even say I was depressed, but I can guarantee you that I would have gotten there if I didn't seek this advice from my boys and hear that, you know what, inaction leads to depression. And now that I mentioned it, it leads me on to the second point on what caused me to feel overwhelmed and what may be causing you too to feel overwhelmed. And that was because I was holding everything in. As men, we naturally want to keep everything in because we feel that we have to be strong. And fair enough, you shouldn't tell your problems to 99% of the world. In fact, 99.99999% of the world. But you should tell your problems to your boys. You should tell your boys how you're feeling. Like I said, fair enough, you're not supposed to tell everyone your problems. But you can't keep everything in. We don't have infinite capacity within us. It will get to a point where you've just kept in too much and then you're just going to explode. And that explosion will look different for other people. Other people will just be paralyzed like I was, or other people may just lash out and be doing stupid things. On top of not acting, holding everything in, I was putting an extreme amount of pressure on myself. And I still don't know whether it's like good. I don't know whether the amount of pressure I put on myself is good and it was just that I wasn't acting and I was holding everything in, or the amount of pressure I put on myself was just excessive. But most of my friends, not most of them, but 2 of them, say that I actually put too much pressure on myself. And that may be true. And one thing I was thinking about this week is how people say that pressure makes diamonds, pressure makes diamonds. That is true. Pressure makes diamonds. But pressure makes coal as well. Okay, bear with me. What I'm trying to say here, it's not the pressure that creates diamonds. It's the substance that's being acted on by pressure which determines whether coal or diamonds are made. So what you should take from this is if you're going to apply pressure on yourself, make sure that you're in the position, you're in the frame to create a diamond out of that pressure. Because the harsh reality is that pressure is not good all the time. Pressure doesn't always make diamonds. Sometimes pressure will just make coal. Sometimes you're not in the frame of mind to have massive amounts of pressure on you. And I'm not saying you should stay in that frame of mind. I'm saying you should improve so that now when pressure is added, it makes diamonds. So pressure is neither good or bad. It's neutral. It depends solely on the thing that pressure is acting on, which is you. So you have to make sure that when you put pressure on yourself, you are the type of substance that will turn into a diamond. So that's pretty much all the advice that I could fit in this video that my friends gave me. So in summary, you're feeling overwhelmed because number one, you set goals for yourself. Number two, you're not acting, and inaction leads to depression. Number three, you're holding everything in and you're not telling your boys how you feel, not telling your boys the things you're struggling with. And number four, you're putting too much pressure on yourself when you're already in a bad state. And because of that pressure, you're creating coal. So the fix to all of this, take action. Focus on the journey and your input, not the output. If you have problems, if you're feeling negative and you feel that you need to tell someone, tell your boys, tell your brothers. And lastly but not least, put pressure on yourself. We realize that life should be enjoyed. You see, Jesus says that it would be a shame for a man to gain the world and lose his soul. And you know what? If you put too much pressure on yourself that you can't enjoy life, you're in effect losing your soul. You're losing your ability to enjoy life, to live life. So put pressure on yourself, but don't put so much that you can't enjoy life anymore.